Hello, my name is Tim Wright. I am the creator of Gnostic Tarot Cards. That was our new introduction. And with an ever increasing video world, what I wanted to do was show some video voiceover of posts that I made probably like 7 years ago. And then I was going to talk with you during the time that we're listening to the voiceover together. So hopefully this is something that you find interesting, and let's go ahead and take care of this.
What is the alternative for those of us who are not satisfied with the orthodox way of spiritual practice? Is growth a possibility? What is, or how do we define growth anyway? Where did we come from? Are we all certain of our origins? What is the point of all hours of reading, and rereading of literature, texts, articles and views of the many authors, commentators and scribes that fill our libraries and sacred places for practice?
So part of where did we come from, why are we here, where are we going, that's called the pneumatic equation, which you can read about in Stephen Heller's book on Gnosticism. And I felt like it's really important. You know, when we're in a time of complete change and overhauling of everything that we know to be not only sacred, but the common and even things that we took for granted, like social gathering and stuff. So it's important at a time like this, and we're in an existential crisis, so to speak, to look at what exactly we're doing here with our time.
These are some of the questions that I ask myself constantly. Sometimes I have received an answer, in part at least, although to me half-truths are very insufficient to rely upon to construct a worldview that is going to be the motivating element behind my actions and ideas. The answer that is most logical, according to common sense, is to stop acting like a fool.
And this is usually what happens when we investigate into the realm of these, not problems, but questions. You get told by people, this is not practical. What you really need to do is put forth your energy and effort when it comes to money, security, on and on and on. But I would beg to differ that the question of the pneumatic equation and exactly like what we're doing here is the most important investigation and analysis that we can make. That there's no real reason other than that for human consciousness. It definitely wasn't, in my opinion, for us to be put here and be work machines.
My family and friends are all convinced at times that I've gone mad, loony, and have spent way too much time into the pursuit of occult studies and esotericism.
And this is what happens when you go into the realm of the occult and esoteric. People kind of look at you like, well, what is all that for? The same way that an artist usually gets treated by family members that are well-intending, but don't necessarily have a way to convey to them that they're only afraid that their actual individual sense of choice and destiny has been threatened. So they don't want you to do it because they don't want to be reminded of the choices that they perhaps have made. One of my favorite songs is by Shinedown, and it's called Sometimes, We Get Another Chance. It's called Another Chance. And so this guy is breaking from what his parents told him. The tradition has told him. The cultural basic like indoctrination of you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then this order. He's saying, nah, I don't want to do that. That's not what my consciousness is guiding me to do. And if that's where you're at, then all the better, because this is just an individual journey. And we all have only pretty much ourselves when it comes down to it in the final analysis.
In the beginning of the journey to Gnosis, lots of us, I found, are lost without our standards of life that are based upon the latest hit TV show. Most of us are deep down hoping there is some solution that will guide us back to the realm of happiness, or for the few that are willing to endure the hike, introduce it for the first time.
And this is what I wanted to do, was show people that through some of these writings and later reflections, that you can really find out what is your individual happiness. Write down. My bishop in the past told me, if you want to be on the journey of soul evolution, then go to your, not higher self, but go to your higher mind, your nous, and see what it wants to talk to you about. Not what you're in your what Jung would call the spirit of the times tells you, that personality that's so tied up with the day-to-day events and appearances, but reality. What does reality say?
The presupposition this statement makes is that all happiness exists in the fullness and not of the world. In the world there is no happiness. This is unfortunately not so. All is a universal term, a metaphysical constant, and if we are to take a journey of gnosis, we need to remember that the only absolutes are that of the pleroma or fullness. In Jewish Kabbalah we call this asmudo, the unnameable, inconceivable essence that we know nothing of.
And this is really one of the places that theology, I'm trying to find the best words to tell you, because theology, even philosophy, esoteric even, they don't go to an area that is called by academicians apophatic. It's the negative idea, the negative experience, not negative in like an emotionally negative, but as far as we can't attribute any characteristics to it. It's an unnameable, ineffable, inconceivable state of psycho-spiritual reality is what I would say. So not to use bad terms and to, get caught up in the times. However, most people who are on a spiritual journey think that they're awake because they're emotionally feeling, straightened out, and that they're not really disturbed emotionally. That's not necessarily the indicator for spiritual growth at all. If emotions were the guiding force for what exactly a well-lived life is, then the most Epicurean people would possibly be the happiest. But we find that that's not true. You can just even look in even recent 2020, June of 2020 headlines and see that there's people who have profound abundance and they are not happy one bit.
This statement parallels that of the Gnostics of the Nag Hammadi, and is saying that we are distant from or alien to the true God. When contemplating such an outlandish statement, we are challenged from the very essence of the remark that we do not know God. Therefore it would be appropriate to see ourselves as a fool, not in the way of socially accepted terms, but that of spiritual development. Therefore, when considering the card titled The World, we are going to interpret, because symbols can only be interpreted and not stated in a fixed, matter-of-fact definition. The question to this card is, are we comfortable as a confined spirit in the elements of the world, both macro and microcosmically? Or are we willing to make a journey of the spirit to inquire of the dance and see what exists beyond the bounds of the cherubim or four creatures of the card?
And so that was the post that I very first made on Gnostic Tarot cards. We had an opportunity to see it in voiceover. Been doing a nice little video editing and everything. So we have an opportunity to reflect back of that time frame and see what exactly has changed. There's a lot that's changed, but a lot that hasn't. It doesn't change that there is a necessary grounding that needs to take place, and that grounding necessarily isn't in the spirit of the times. What Jung also defined in his red book, Liber Novus, as the spirit of the depths. We are working to become established in the spirit of the depths. in tarot. But specifically, what I wanted to talk about is semiotics. Semiotics is the language study and educational revelation of meaning of a symbol. And the important thing that I heard from, I think it was Albert Pike, to use a recent person, is that the symbol can't be fully exhausted. Even Manly P. Hall said the symbol is not something that can be completely exhausted. So an anachronistic way of looking at a symbol is thinking that it is completely defined by the spirit of the times. That you can look back at the Fleifalt or whatever, what was then distorted as the swastika. And I'm not racist. I'm not doing any of that. The point is that before Germany, and specifically a faction of Germany, took over the symbol, it had an amazing meaning through antiquity. I mean, you can even see that on the Da Vinci Code if you want to take a look at that. And it has a good point that semiotics are not able to be defined by the spirit of the times. That if the times are saying blah, 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 that doesn't necessarily mean they've always said that and they always will say that. That right now, at our snapshot and picture in time, this is what it looks like. I was looking at some Instagram model recently, and what she did is she showed that our expectation of ideology into glamour and modeling is so much different than the reality. In the reality, she could never get her hair like that again. There was no way to make the makeup in that fashion, and her clothes had been popped with filters and photographic manipulation. And the point is that life is not like some cookie cutter picture perfect-esque thing. It's messy. It's necessarily messy and beautiful in that mess. So I know everybody feels very emotionally disabled right now, if you could say something else. And I said that on purpose because, it's a lot of times they believe that people are ableist and they're making fun of a protected class that doesn't have that ability. But in the mind, we have all opportunity. In fact, this was something that I think it was Beethoven. It could have been Mozart. But they figured out that music had no anachronism to it whatsoever, that music was available to anyone that had the capacity to understand the music. And all they had to do was be shown what that music meant in its archetypal foundation to be able to evolve, to grow, and to expand within that musical area. So, good making music with you.